So, good morning everyone. Our today's topic is about respiratory chain and oxidative phosphorylation. And now, before this topic, I'll just brush up about the things we have already covered so that it is better, it helps in understanding of this topic in a better manner. So, previous to this, we have learned about bioenergetics and role of ATP, where we discussed about how living beings, how energy is utilized by living beings for various biochemical processes, how energy is harnessed, and what is the role of ATP here, that it collects the energy from high energy compound and it donates the energy to low energy compounds. Then we also learned about the biological oxidation, in the sense that what is oxidation reduction, what is biological oxidation, what is the importance of it in our biological system, and which are the various enzymes which takes part in biological oxidation. What is the redox potential, right? It is the electron transferring capacity, right, or tendency, and how the various oxidoreductase enzyme, four subgroups of oxidoreductase enzymes help in this biological oxidation process. Those enzymes were oxidoreductases, then hydroperoxidases, oxygenases and dehydrogenases, right? Out of these four, we know that oxidoreductase and dehydrogenase, they hardcorely take part in the redox reaction, whereas hydroperoxidase are more concerned with neutralization of free radical, and the last one, oxygenases, we again had subtypes, monooxygenases and dioxygenases. They are required for hydroxylation reactions and detoxifications. So, from these we will be moving on to the current topic, the objectives of which are as follows. At the end of the lecture, you should be able to describe various levels of metabolism and understand the process of cellular respiration. What is cellular respiration, right? Should be able to describe about structure of mitochondria and various enzymes located inside. What are the various protein complexes of electron transport chain, ETC, and what are the roles of various structural proteins in the ETC, like flavoproteins, iron sulfur complexes, coenzyme Q and cytochromes. So basically we learn about this preliminary thing before moving on to the hardcore topic of oxidative phosphorylation and ATP synthesis, right? So hence these are the various objectives. Now, why we are learning about today's topic, or what is the biomedical importance of this topic? So, we all know that electron transport chain, which is located inside the mitochondria, which are also otherwise known as powerhouses of the cell, what basically it does is it allows to capture the available free energy. Okay. Again, we all know that amongst aerobic organisms and anaerobic organisms, comparatively greater proportion of energy, free energy, is generated and liberated in aerobic organisms, right, which is ultimately trapped by this ETC. Now, this process of free energy trapping is related to generation of ATP, okay, phosphorylation. So, on one side there is oxidation, which creates free energy, and this free energy is trapped inside ATP in the form of phosphorylation, hence the term oxidative phosphorylation, right? The ATP we all know is a universal energy currency required for all biochemical processes. Also, there are many drugs and poisons in addition to various inherited defects of electron transport chain proteins which affects this entire process of energy harnessing and generating, right? And again it leads to fatal consequences. So these are the various things for which we want to learn today's topics. Right? As per the objectives, what are in metabolism, we have various levels. So there are various levels of metabolism. You can say primary metabolism, secondary or intermediary metabolism, and tertiary metabolism or internal respirations. So amongst these three levels of metabolism, your process of ATP generation and cellular oxidation is included in tertiary metabolism or internal respiration. So we all know that living organism get the energy from the food stuff they consume. They consume macromolecules in the food are fat, carbohydrate and proteins. So first these macromolecules are converted or digested into the simplified version, so like fatty acid, glucose, amino acids. Okay, so this simplified conversion of the complex product constitutes your primary metabolism of food stuff, right? So digestion and absorption is a primary metabolism. Now these simplified substrates, they go to their respective pathway to get oxidized, and these pathways and oxidation of the simplified macromolecules is known as secondary level of metabolism, which gets reducing equivalents in the form of nicotinamide and flavin nucleotide, reduced form of nicotinamide and flavin nucleotides. Those are NADH, NFADH2, FMNH2. So this level of metabolism is known as secondary or intermediary metabolism. Now these reducing equivalents will migrate to the mitochondria, they will be transported to mitochondria, and ultimately it will be exposed to electron transport chain, where these reducing equivalents will get oxidized, and it is associated with the process of transfer of electrons, and ultimately this electron will be donated to oxygen and water will be formed, okay, via respiratory chain. Now during this process there will be release of energy, free energy, which will be trapped ultimately with the help of phosphorylation of ADP to phosphate, and it will be getting converted to ATP. So this portion will be known as tertiary metabolism. Okay, so this entire process is known as cellular respiration, which ultimately leads to generation of free energy and ATP. Now in the tertiary metabolism we have various respiratory chain electron transport respiratory chain, which transfers the electrons from reducing equivalents. Okay, so we are more focused in this lecture about respiratory chain or electron transport chain. What are they? It is nothing but it is a sequentially organized large protein complexes which act as a electron carrier. Okay. Usually they are universally located at the inner mitochondrial membrane. They are in mitochondria, and sub portion is inner mitochondrial membrane of mitochondrial structure where ETC is located. And what are the basic function? It transfers electron from low redox potential carrier or compound to high redox potential carrier or compound. This is their basic function. Okay. Now, due to this function, ultimately what happens? The free energy is released during this electron transfer, which is converted. This free energy is converted into chemical energy by various energy transducer of electron transport chain, and ultimately this converted energy is utilized to generate ATP. Okay. So this is how ETC structurally contributes to ATP formation. So before we go into the detail of ETC, we should also learn about the structural aspects of mitochondria. We all know mitochondria is a subcellular organelle present inside the cell cytoplasm. It is made up of mainly outer membrane and inner membrane. It in between intermembrane space. The innermost part inside the mitochondria is matrix, which also contains all of this outer membrane, intermembrane space and matrix. They contain various protein enzymes, okay, which contribute for ATP formation. One striking feature between inner mitochondrial membrane difference and outer mitochondrial membrane is outer mitochondrial membrane is permeable to most of the ions and solutes, whereas inner mitochondrial membrane is permeable to selective molecules. Okay. So this is one of the simplified presentation of the figure which I have shown here. So this is you can see outer mitochondrial membrane. Outer mitochondrial membrane also contains a variety of enzyme proteins like acyl-CoA synthetase, one of the enzymes of fatty acid oxidation, glycerol phosphate acyl transferase. Okay. Then this is the intermembrane space. It also contains few enzymes like creatine kinase and adenylyl kinase. Okay, you learn about this enzyme and their roles in various topics. Now the inner membranes have been folded into various crista. Okay, and at this inner membrane level you can see these are the various enzyme complexes which are also known as electron transport chain complexes. Okay, they are complexes 1, 2, 3, 4. Also it contains another protein which generates ATP. It is known as ATP synthase, and it also, due to selective permeability, it also contains various membrane transporters. Right? And this is the innermost part is the mitochondrial matrix, which contains various enzymes for TCA cycle, beta oxidation, pyruvate dehydrogenase. Ultimately, what does it produce? It produces reducing equivalents NADH2 and FADH2, NADH and FADH2. Okay, so we are clear about the structural aspects of mitochondria and location, pinpoint location of ETC. Now, what is ETC made up of? Various complex proteins. So we have 4 protein complexes. Complex 1, namely complex 1, which is known as NADH CoQ oxidoreductase or NADH dehydrogenase complex. Complex 2 is succinate dehydrogenase complex or succinate CoQ oxidoreductase. Complex 3 is coenzyme Q cytochrome C oxidoreductase, and complex 4 which is known as cytochrome C oxidase. Now what does this complex do is, this is how they are located at the inner mitochondrial membrane. Most of them are transmembrane complexes except complex 2, which is located at the outer portion and inner portion of mitochondrial membrane. Now, usually what happens here is this respiratory chain, what does it do? It oxidizes the reducing equivalents which has been generated at secondary metabolism. I told you earlier, NADH and FADH2. It oxidizes these reducing equivalents. Along with that, it also acts as a proton pump. Okay, so what does it do? It oxidizes NADH to NAD, and in the process these electrons gets transferred to this variety of the complex in the sequence complex 1 CoQ, complex 2 CoQ, then from CoQ to complex 3, and from complex 3 to complex 4 cytochromes via cytochrome C, and ultimately two electrons are transferred to oxygen, and in the presence of proton it forms water. Okay. Now I told you these complexes acts as a proton pump. So what happens here is, during this entire process of transfer of electrons, free energy is released, and with that free energy this complexes pump out the protons. Okay, and this proton gradient which will be created, it will be utilized for ATP synthesis, that we will see next lecture. Okay. Now again here the sequence of complexes is more important for electron transport complex, transfer of electron in context of electron transfers. So we already know that electrons are transferred from high redox potential carriers to low redox potential carriers. So the sequence you can see, complex electrons get transferred from complex 1 to CoQ, coenzyme Q, to complex 2 to complex 3, and electrons get transferred from complex 1 to coenzyme Q. Okay, and we have from coenzyme Q the electrons get transferred to complex 3, and from complex 3 it gets transferred to complex 4 and ultimately to the oxygen. So the question arises, electrons get transferred sequentially from complex 1, 3 and 4 to oxygen. So what about complex 2? Why it is not in the line with complex 1? Now because I had already told, the redox potential of complex 2 is more compared to complex 1. So what happens? Complex 2 will also transfer the electron to the coenzyme Q, like complex 1 transferring the electrons to coenzyme Q, and after collecting electrons from both complex 1 and 2, the electrons will be transferred to complex 3 and 4 and ultimately to the oxygen. Okay, fine. So that's what I told you. And just now, the flow of electron through ETC. You can see electrons will be generated after oxidation of NADH, the reducing equivalents, and FADH2. Okay, the electrons from complex 1 will go to Q, and electrons from complex 2 will be donated to Q. Now from complex Q, it will be transferred to cytochrome C via complex 3. Now this cytochrome C will transfer electrons to complex 4, and ultimately it will be handed over to oxygen, which will get converted to water. So this is the entire process. So to learn to understand this electron transport process in a better manner, we should be clear about the structural aspect of these ETC complexes. Okay, so we have various proteins which play important structural role in these complexes. Those are flavoproteins, protein containing flavin nucleotides; iron sulfur proteins, protein containing iron and sulfur complexes; cytochromes, protein containing heme; which are the important component of these ETC complexes. Okay, so we'll go into the detail of each. So what are flavoprotein? As I told you, they are the protein containing flavin nucleotide as a cofactor. So FAD, FMN, those are the flavin nucleotides. These flavoproteins in our context of ETC, they are important component of complex 1 and 2. They get oxidized and get converted. The oxidized forms of flavin nucleotides of FAD and FMN gets reduced to FADH2 and FMNH2. They continuously switch on from oxidized to reduced state once they accept and donate the electron. So, as I told you, it involves the pair of electron transfer. It can also accept single electron and get converted into radical form, which is known as semiquinone form. So, yeah, you can see here this is an oxidized form of FMN. You can focus on these points. These are where the reduction will take place. One electron will be received and it will get reduced partially, which is known as radical or semiquinone form, and again when it receives another electron it gets fully reduced to FMNH2. Okay, so this is how flavoproteins gets reduced sequentially to FMNH2. Iron sulfur, the next one is iron sulfur proteins. They are non-heme iron proteins. They are found in complex 1, 2 and 3. They take, again like flavoproteins, they take part in single electron transfer, where electron gets donated to ferrous form, ferric form, and when electron is donated or released, ferric form gets converted to Fe2 ferrous form. Okay. But the characteristic feature is the linking of iron to this sulfur. Usually it is linked to inorganic sulfur or organic sulfhydryl group of cysteine residue of that complex protein. We also have an unusual iron sulfur complex, which is known as a Risch's complex, wherein iron is linked to histidine residue, unlike sulfur, cysteine. Right. I'll show you the iron sulfur centers. It can be either 1 iron, 2 iron or 4 iron sulfur complexes. So you can see 1 iron sulfur, 2 iron sulfur and 4 iron sulfur. Okay. So this is all about iron sulfur centers. The third one is cytochromes. Cytochromes, as I told you, they are the heme containing proteins. Heme is made up of iron and protoporphyrin ring, and these cytochromes undergo redox reactions. Now heme also is present in hemoglobin and myoglobin, but if you observe carefully, this heme ion in hemoglobin and myoglobin does not undergo redox reactions. It is fixed in the ferrous form, right, which can receive oxygen. Now mitochondrial ETC contains at least 6 different types of cytochromes, which are grouped into main 3 subgroups: cytochrome A, cytochrome B and cytochrome C. Okay. Now they are differentiated based on structural aspect, their chemical properties. One of the chemical properties is light absorbance, the visible light absorbance. They absorb light at a particular wavelength, okay, and it will differentiate cytochrome A, B and C. In figure I have shown you the absorption of cytochrome C, oxidized form and reduced form. It gives 3 bands where maximum absorbance you can see at different wavelengths, okay, alpha, beta and gamma bands. Okay. Now in context of electron transport chain, heme of cytochrome A and B is tightly, but it is non-covalently bound to its protein, whereas heme of cytochrome C is bound covalently to its protein. Okay, so this is another difference. And most of the cytochrome in the mitochondrial membrane, they are integral protein like cytochrome B, C1, A, A3, they are integral protein, transmembrane protein, except cytochrome C, which is peripherally located in the outer leaflet and it's a mobile one. Okay, so this is all about cytochrome. So with this I will finish today's lecture. So if you summarize today's lecture, what we have learned is what is the various levels of metabolism and where does our respiratory chain, at which level of metabolism it belongs to, and what are the various components of electron transport chain complexes, complex 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the basic role of this electron transport chain, how it is linked to ATP formation, and what are the various structural proteins of this electron transport chain like flavoprotein, cytochromes, iron sulfur proteins, etc. Okay, so with this we will end today's lecture. Next lecture we will see about entire process of electron transport and ATP formation. Thank you everyone.